Coach Tomlin, let's go for the win, man.
Man was expecting to get out of Mike Tomlin.
Coach Tomlin, let's go for the win, man.
That was better than what he expected to get. That was better than he asked for. Mike Tomlin ain't here for your games. He got a game to win. He ain't here for your games.
Oh, man.
I thought you would appreciate that.
I love it. I'm telling you, the poetry of Mike Tomlin should be a segment on Brother from Another. Mike Tomlin's poetry.
It is.
Poetry month.
I thought it was. We don't miss an opportunity to give Mike Tomlin his flowers.
Yeah, but we missed some opportunities. We missed some opportunities lately. How about the one where Tomlin was like, you heard him talking about slot corners? You hear his comment about slot corners? He said they're angry little people. They're angry little people who refuse to be blocked. He was saying it in a complimentary way about the slot on his team. I can't remember. You probably know his name. Guy who's bounced around the league a little bit, but really is playing well. I think it's number 30. I can't remember his number for the Steelers, but Steelers win yesterday. Mike Tomlin, I'm sure, had more Tomlin poetry. But I'm always here
whoever
for
that dude was, like, first of all, how did he get in that position to be able to do that? Because, like, usually pregame, I can't even get that close. For him to say, hey, I'm working right now. You know, it's like, come on, man. Like, you gotta know, like, he ain't there for your TikTok videos. Speaking of having their work cut out for him, let's start here, if you will. Let's focus our attention on the NFC.
Okay.
And 3 teams in particular. Well, 4. Because I don't want to do that thing I did earlier in the season and dismiss them. Well,
make
but make that 4. I dismissed them earlier in the season. I just did it again. Minnesota just did what Minnesota does, and they won again. They won another close game.
Give Minnesota some love, y'all. What's wrong with this?
They're good. No, they're good at the most important thing. They're good at winning football games.
Yes, they are.
Minnesota did what Minnesota does, and they won again. That's 10 wins for them now. Okay, so that's Minnesota. 3 teams I want to focus on. Dallas putting up 54 points on another professional football team in Indianapolis. Say what you want about their head coach. That fourth quarter was devastating. 33 points in the fourth quarter.
33 points in the fourth.
For the Dallas Cowboys, who are hosting Odell Beckham Jr. today. We'll get into that. The Philadelphia Eagles, who ran through the Tennessee Titans, who I think are good. We know they're well coached, well run, but they don't beat good teams. So maybe they're just not that good to begin with. But Philadelphia does what a good team does against a bad team, and that's beat the brakes off them. So fly, Eagles, fly there. And the last team, and we'll hear from Kyle Shanahan momentarily, is San Francisco, who now has to function moving forward with its 3rd quarterback this year, formerly Mr. Irrelevant, now Mr. Very Relevant. That will be Brock Purdy out of Iowa State, the final pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, taking over for the injured Jimmy Garoppolo. Here is Kyle Shanahan.
I mean, just hearing it, it's pretty crushing. I mean, we know what Jimmy's been through, how hard he's worked at this. You know, I got that news a little in the 2nd quarter, so it was a little different for me, even just how happy we were with that game. That was a really cool game just as a team, and all the stuff that went on throughout the game, and just be able to overcome some things. And it was such a special win, but definite mixed emotions hearing about Jimmy. I told the guys right after the game, and so I know that gave them some mixed emotions fast too, but it was a hell of a job by Brock coming in, stepping it up. He did a real good job today, and we're going to be ready to do our best to overcome this.
I think Brock Purdy's going to be all right. I think the 49ers are going to be all right. They only lead the Seahawks by a game in the division. A week from this coming Thursday, looks real good for my other job. Prime Video, Thursday Night Football. Niners at Seahawks. Looking forward to that. So I think the Niners will be fine. But I guess the way I want to kick this off with you, Michael, is like, not who you got, because there's still so much time and so much could happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Who were you most impressed by of the NFC contenders yesterday? Was it San Francisco beating Miami with its 3rd-string quarterback? Was it Dallas demolishing Indianapolis? Or was it Philadelphia running over the Titans?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or was there another submission?
No, that was it. I mean, you got the major three. Look, I'm not surprised by what Philadelphia did against Tennessee. Not surprised at all. And I do. I'm like you. You described it perfectly. Good, well-run organization. We both know people in that organization. I've known them for a long time. I go back to the early 1990s with Mike Vrabel from the same area. I remember covering him in high school. So I'm a big Mike Vrabel fan. So, but still, not surprised by what happened in Tennessee. Not surprised by what Dallas did to Indianapolis. I didn't think it would happen in a 33-point fourth quarter. But if you said, hey, Dallas is going to put up about 54 on Indianapolis, I'd say, yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah, okay, it happened.
Yeah,
I'm not shocked.
Thought it had been rationed out a little bit more over the four quarters,
but they just kind of stung them.
Yeah.
But somebody said something to me yesterday, Mike, you're going to love this. Really smart football guy that I had a chance to talk to yesterday, and really had never talked with him at length before. But this is somebody who knows the league, knows the history of the league, and has won Super Bowls. He said to me, he said, it's funny, he said, football is like fashion. He said, it really is. Like, it just kind of goes in cycles.
Cyclical,
and
yeah.
It really is. He said, like some of the things that you do in football, some of the things that you do well in football and you stop doing, nothing was really wrong. There are certain things you can do in football on and on, whether it's the 50s, 60s, aughts, or 2020s. You keep doing those things no matter what, they work. And his point was, he said, when I look at the San Francisco 49ers, this is before the injury. He said, when I look at the 49ers of today, I see many elements of the 49ers with Roger Craig and Rathman and their running game. He said, I look at them, and I see a lot of similarities. And I'm like, okay, I see it. But what was so great about those 49ers in the late 80s and 90s, they had Joe Montana followed by Steve Young. I can see his point, but it's going to be real tough, man. It's going to be real tough to get where they want to go with their third quarterback of the season. It's not necessarily the draft. It's not necessarily
Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, y'all told me Jimmy Garoppolo was just a guy anyway. That's what y'all told me. Y'all told me that the Niners won in spite of him, not because of him. So I'm trying to figure out what the problem is here. Sarcasm.
Right. Well, because no, you go ahead with your sarcasm. Good. Stay there.
I just wanted the viewers to know I was being sarcastic. I didn't know, sometimes,
No, I want you to stay there. I want you to live. I want you to bathe in your sarcasm.
That's what y'all told me. Because if it was up to y'all, he'd be gone already. Y'all wanted him gone. I tried to tell you needed him around.
And who's y'all?
I'm arguing now all of y'all. You people.
Hold on. Because let me tell you what my birth certificate says. My birth certificate says Michael Scott Holley. I don't know what Kyle Shanahan's middle name is, but Kyle Shanahan is the y'all who started all this. He's the one who started it. Ain't nobody started it. It wasn't the media.
He did trade up. You didn't make him trade up.
Right. It wasn't Ted Koppel.
You're right.
It wasn't Ted Koppel. Right. It was you, Kyle Shanahan. So he started it. But the reason it's a problem, because Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel bad for the brother. But, he is just a guy. But he was just a guy starting over another guy who's not the guy that he is, and that is Purdy. So, man, it's going to be hard. All you need to make is like 4 or 5 throws. I'm convinced of it. You don't have to have a whole game of getting it done.
But that's all Jimmy did, though. That's all Jimmy did. Right.
And they didn't think it was good enough. And like 4 or 5 throws, they were like, it's not good enough. The only reason they backed to Jimmy is because the one they wanted got hurt. Jimmy ain't start the season. They were just tired. They were done with Jimmy. Then he's back.
Right, but we still don't know what Trey Lance would have been. We know that they've won with this formula before. And again, all y'all kept telling me was that this was a Super Bowl roster being held back by its quarterback. So it stands to reason that even though this guy was drafted with the last pick of the draft, once upon a time Tony Romo was undrafted, with that roster, that running game, those receivers, and a defense, look, man, you're right. It is going to be harder than it already would have been for San Francisco. But when you have a defense where the opposition almost never scores in the second half of games, it makes the quarterback's job that much easier. And, man, I'm telling you, I don't care who's lining up at quarterback, and they respond to Jimmy Garoppolo. Forget what you want to say about Garoppolo. It's a captain. They respond to him. That team, no matter who the quarterback is going to beat the crap out of you. They're so damn physical. I can tell you with some authority, with some semblance of authority.
Okay.
That
Here we go. We got a nugget.
No,
we got a nugget.
No, not really. No, I don't want to overstate it. But that most of the teams in the NFC look at San Francisco as the biggest problem. I guess I could phrase it as they're the team that they don't want to face because they know that Debo and Kittle and Trent Williams and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, like those dudes, you feel those dudes. So if Brock Purdy can give some, just portion of Jimmy Garoppolo, and again, they were winning playoff games with Jimmy Garoppolo throwing for 100 yards and just making a handful of throws like you just said. I'm not oblivious to the facts of the situation, despite my sarcasm. I think they'll be fine. But with the time we have left in this conversation, I'm going to answer my own question, dude. The team that I'm most impressed by, and I don't know if I continue to try to pay penance or make amends for my knee-jerk reaction in the opener. I don't know if I'm biased because I was just at the Star this past week. I don't know what it is. And I know it was the Colts. And I know it was Jeff Saturday's Colts. I got it. But Dallas is so damn devastating, dude. Dallas is so good. Like, as long as you have Dak Prescott able to hand off to one of two running backs who could punish you and then make plays off of play action. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is coming into his own. I didn't always trust that dude. This offensive line, that was a problem at the beginning of the season. Now, Tyron Smith coming back. And Tyler Smith getting kicked inside. Defensively, dog, they hunt on defense. I like Philadelphia, don't get me wrong. I really like Philadelphia. But, man, I love Dallas.
But you like Dallas more?
I like Philadelphia, more. But I love Dallas this year.
All right.
In that division,
so you like Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I
like Philly,
Philly a
you
lot.
love Dallas.
I love Dallas.
Okay. So is Dallas a better team than Philly? Is Dallas
Well, yeah,
better?
that's basically what I'm saying. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yes. Okay, right.
Yeah.
So if it comes down to it, if you have to pick NFC Championship game, Cowboys at Eagles, Eagles like just win out. They have one more win than the Cowboys. They got home field advantage. You're going at the link. You're going with Dallas over Philadelphia, NFC Championship game. For the right to go to Arizona.
Right now, if you put me on the spot right now, I am. I think Dallas has all the pieces, and they ain't even added OBJ. And I will talk more about him with Charles Robinson. I'm not going to take the time right now. We can go ahead and roll the music here. We can go to break, and we can get to a former Dallas Cowboy.
And it's so great. And Mike, I appreciate you.
If they get Odell, and he's their 3, their 2, their 3, whatever, with that running game, oh my God.
I appreciate you. I like, you said a lot of good things there. I really appreciate you said that Dallas is a better coach team too. You said they got the better coach. And Mike McCarthy, I heard you say that, right? I appreciate that, man. Finally, you coming around. Nice.
Hey,
what else you want to say about McCarthy?
Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn, give them all their flowers right now. Will McClay, we talked about him last year. That roster, they got so much depth, and they're tough. San Francisco took their lunch money last year. Dallas is physical. That's what you got to be to beat San Francisco.
Yep, you got to be ready for it. They're coming.
I told swag. Coach Prime is about to be big balling.
We got a few positions already taken care of because I'm bringing my luggage with me. And it's Louis. Okay. It ain't gonna be no more of the mess that these wonderful fans, the student body, and some of your parents have put up with for probably 2 decades now. I'm coming. And when I get here, it's gonna be changed. So I want y'all to get ready to go ahead and jump in that portal and do whatever you're gonna get. Because the more you jump in, the more room you make.
A lot of people have thoughts, a lot of people have feelings, a lot of people in their feelings about Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State to become the new coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. Michael, Holley, how do you feel about this development?
You know, it's funny. I was talking to a big fan of the show earlier today, a brother named Nick Bates. A good brother at Boston University. Runs the Howard Thurman. He's the director of the Howard Thurman Center. If y'all don't know who Howard Thurman is, look up Howard Thurman. Anyway, Nick Bates is like, man, I can't wait for y'all to talk about this on Brother from Another. So I just went up to him today. I said, no, I want to hear what you have to say about it. And he brought up a really good point. He was like, how do we look at, I'm giving him credit. He said, you know, how are we looking at Deion really informs how you feel about it. He said, if you looked at Deion as part of the SWAC tradition. You looked at him as like the next Eddie Robinson. If you looked at him as the next guy who was going to bring back the brilliance and the artistry and the dignity to black college football, then you're disappointed. You feel betrayed.
Well, I mean,
but
well,
Nick's point.
Don't let Eddie Robinson Jr. hear you say that. Just so you know.
And by the way, Eddie Robinson Jr. Eddie Robinson Jr., he may have lost the rhetorical battle. He may have lost the freestyle to Deion, but he won the argument. Going away. This is exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah.
That Deion is not really about. Eddie Robinson Jr., no relation, by the way, said, hey, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. And he named some people in this conference that if Deion's being honest, and a lot of us are being honest, there are some names that we hadn't heard before. Like he knew what he was talking about. So he really was about SWAC. And that was his point about Deion. He said Deion's a great Hall of Fame football player, only guy to play in the Super Bowl and the World Series, great talent, great entertainer, all of that stuff, great recruiter, great advertiser, pitchman, preacher, all that stuff. But he really wasn't about that SWAC life. And he's right. If we were looking at him as a guy who was going to stay in the SWAC for the rest of his career, I'll speak for myself.
That's on us.
I was projecting. He never said that. He never gave that indication that this was a lifelong mission for him. And so,
as a matter of fact, he was pretty transparent about if the right job came along, he'd be foolish not to listen. I'm pretty sure he's on record as saying that.
But he has done, and I don't know if this is intentional or not. I know there's only one Deion. Like Deion is just, he's got a magnetism. He's got charisma. He just oozes charisma. He doesn't even try. It's just natural for him. But he may have unintentionally, Mike, opened the door for other people. People weren't looking at historically black colleges and universities for their next coach. Now, Colorado was, because Colorado knows about some black coaches. Okay, Colorado hires a lot of black coaches. This is like third in a row for Colorado, and the rest of big time college football is like, huh? We don't. Where do you find these? Where do you find these Afro Americans? Where are they? Because Colorado knows how to find them. But the fact is, he's 27-5 at Jackson State. I didn't realize they never had an undefeated season in their history. He had the first one. He turned around this program. He got big time recruits to come to Jackson State, and the attention was there, and he knows how to coach. So what Deion did was prove his chops at a lower level, whether we like to say that or not, at a lower level of college football, he proved his chops. He got an opportunity. He got a pay raise. He got a bigger platform, and he took it. But Nick's point, and this is what I love what he said, and I'll give it back to you. Nick said, why are we always looking at he said, whether it's sports or civil rights, why are we always looking at a messianic figure to save us? So there are a lot of people doing the work, but we want that one guy to represent all the things that a lot of people can be doing. He's right. I have no issue with Deion Sanders, although I wish he had stayed at Jackson State for 10 years, but he never claimed that, and I shouldn't have expected it.
I like how you put that. I'll answer my own question. I ask you how you feel. I'll tell you how I feel. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. Have I ever told you the story of that time where Jesse Jackson checked me over Jackie Robinson? Let me tell you that story.
Yeah. Tell me again, because I remember this.
Okay. So I did a Negro Leagues like symposium panel for the Chicago White Sox, and Jesse Jackson was there. Reverend Jesse Jackson was there, and I made the remark about Jackie Robinson getting called up to the major leagues. And admittedly, I was not referencing him getting called up from Montreal. I was talking about from the Negro Leagues to the major leagues. And Jesse Jackson was like, and again, I didn't mean it this way, but it was just, it was just the way I expressed it. I wasn't thinking about how that sounded and what that meant. And he was like, what do you mean called up to the major leagues? That would imply, he said in so many words, that would imply that the Negro Leagues were inferior to the major leagues. When, as we all know, or should know, the talent in the Negro Leagues was equal, if not superior, to that in the then segregated major leagues. Mm-hmm. I bring that up to say, the reason I'm disappointed is I thought Deion Sanders at Jackson State was a representation of the fact that their ice ain't colder. I thought that Deion Sanders was standing for something bigger. And so you said, if you thought that he was going to be a Jackson State or a SWAC lifer, then that's on you. I guess I'll agree with that by saying that it's on me for buying what he was selling. Because I'll be honest with you, Michael. Yeah, that's how you got Travis Hunter to go there. I mean, that was the brand. The brand was, hey, we're gonna do this here at Jackson State. We're gonna put on for HBCUs here. Like, you don't have to go to a PWI, a predominantly white institution. You don't have to go to Florida State. You can come to Jackson State and get a great education, be nurtured, be protected, be coached, be developed. You can get the same things here. Now, we know the resources aren't the same. We know that. But I thought that Deion was going to be at the forefront of this zeitgeist. I thought that he was going to be a part of changing that. Because when he said to his own team, when he said, in coaching, you either get elevated or you get terminated. Well, that goes back to what I just said about Jesse Jackson. Elevated. The idea, and I realize he's the first HBCU coach to get a Power 5 job. But that Power 5 job is the worst program in the Power 5, or among the worst programs in the Power 5.
The idea in their conference.
We're in their conference. Yeah, they've been bad for a long time. I mean, last time I checked for Colorado, it was Cordell Stewart, Eric Bieniemy. You know what I'm saying?
You can't even remember.
I remember. I remember. I used to fool with Colorado. I used to fool back in the day because in New Orleans with Cordell Stewart, I used with the visor. I used to check for Colorado. So what I'm saying is the idea that represents elevation runs counter to what he was building and the pride that he was reinstilling. I don't want to say instilling because that pride isn't going anywhere, but reinstilling or reigniting or expanding when it comes to not just Jackson State, but HBCU football in general. Now, I feel the need to say this. I don't think I'm disqualified from having this conversation, but let's just put it all out there. Well, Michael, where'd you go to school? Michael, where'd you
I
go
went
to
to
school?
Point Park.
I went to Loyola.
Point Park University.
What else for me? But yeah, you too. What else for me? I went to Loyola, New Orleans. I was asking myself that question. I went to Loyola University in New Orleans.
I thought you said Michael. I just heard myself.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I got you right. My people went to Southern. My mama went to Xavier. You know what I'm saying? I got my stepdad went to Southern. My daddy went to Prairie View. I went to Loyola New Orleans, a Jesuit institution. All right? Michael, what network you on? I'm on Peacock. I work for Peacock, NBC Sports, and Amazon. I will flatter myself. I've never been offered anything, but the truth is I don't work at BET. I don't work for The Grill. I don't work for Revolt. Okay? So to your point about projecting, it's like I don't want to sit here and say that Deion should continue his coaching career indefinitely at an HBCU without even so much as attend an HBCU. There's a part of me that feels like a little, like I don't want to come off as hypocritical. I'm just strictly basing this off of what the brand that Deion was putting forth. And that was, again, their ice ain't colder, their water ain't wetter. We can do it big here. And they did do it big. Maybe not big enough. Last thing I'll say before I get back to you, because I don't want to I don't want to dominate this conversation any more than I already have, is that I find Deion Sanders infinitely less interesting today than I did a few days ago.
Really?
Now he's just another coach. He's just another guy that's, look, if he'd have gone to Florida State, and many have said this, and listen, bruh, realize something. I wanted to go to Florida State. I had a Florida, if you could find old pictures of me in high school, I had a Florida State starter jacket, a Florida State starter hat. I love the Florida State Seminoles. I memorized the Notre Dame fight song because I lost a bet in '93 when the Seminoles lost at South Bend. Okay, that's how. And it was because of Deion Sanders and Terrell Buckley and Amp Lee and Bar None and Casey Weldon and rest in peace Bobby Bowden. Like that was my squad. So I'm somebody who was raised watching Deion Sanders. That's why I wore a T-shirt today. I got a T-shirt for every occasion. That's why I wore it. Okay. Many have said this. Had Deion gone to Florida State, it's like, okay, go home, dog. We got it. Had Deion gone to the NFL, had Deion gone to a premier program, which maybe he makes Colorado, and I'm rooting for him to succeed at Colorado. Maybe he brings Colorado back to prominence. It would be more understandable if it's a job that you just cannot turn down. But to go to Colorado, you were just trying to get a pay raise. You were just trying to get another job. That's what it comes off as. And again, I don't begrudge him for that.
Hey,
and I don't want to sound like I'm begrudging him for that because it's not my pockets. It's not my bills. And it's not my calling.
Okay.
And listen, I will never tell somebody who says that God told me to do this. Who am I to tell you what God told you to do? If that's what you think your path and your calling is, that's fine. I'm saying I thought, and I don't think that it was strictly my misperception of the situation. I think it was what he was putting forth. I thought that this was bigger than just the next coaching job for Deion. And maybe shame on me for falling for that proverbial banana in the tailpipe. But I thought that that's what this was about for Deion Sanders. Was starting something, was being a trendsetter, not just jumping for Colorado, where for me now, Michael, he's nothing but another coach. He was way more interesting when he stood for something bigger. When he's I'm saying when he stood for something, why not? When he was at Jackson State, the story was you're a storyteller. You're a remarkable storyteller. The story was better when he was at Jackson State.
Yeah.
What's the story at Colorado here? That he took another job? Then now you got to win or he gets fired there?
Well, it's a couple things. One, he did start something. He did stand for something. What we are caught up in is that we thought it was going to last for a generation. He started something, and that window is not as.
It's not that. I didn't think he'd leave for Colorado. I just want one specificity.
Okay.
One low. That's all. I just want to. Not that I thought he'd spend the rest of his life at Jackson State. I thought he'd stay there longer than 3 years. I didn't think he'd leave for Colorado. I felt the same way when the TCU rumors came up last year. I felt the same way. Even though they're a playoff team, I felt the same way last year.
I understand. There's a Colorado part of it. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. But Deion Sanders is a guy who didn't have any head coaching experience. I know he had Prime Academy. He's always working with young people, living in Texas, doing his thing, and promoting young talent. But he never had that opportunity at the collegiate level. So Jackson State was the opportunity for him. It's a historically black college and university, and there's a long tradition of those institutions to the NFL, and not only sending players there, but sending Hall of Fame players there.
Correct.
So they gave him an opportunity when maybe nobody else was willing to do it. And he went there, which is significant. That Deion Sanders was there. That brought attention to the conference. And then Deion Sanders not only won, but brought big-time, real blue-chip players to the conference that are blue-chip players on day one and maybe not 4 years later. Like what the conference is known for is blue-chip players. We don't see them in the front door, but going out to the NFL, be like, hey, man, they can play.
Yeah.
But he changed it around. Hey, we know we already have great players in this conference, but we're going to bring them in and bring some attention there. So think about what he did.
Added attention.
He brought a lot of it. He brought attention, more attention, a bigger spotlight to the SWAC.
No, yeah. I'm not saying he wasn't successful.
And it can, but all the things that he did, that doesn't go away because he left.
Right.
No.
Right.
So
Right.
why can't other people do
Right.
that? Why can't other people do that?
That part that was your guy named Nate. That part. No, I wholeheartedly agree with that, because it's like, it's not, we can't all of a sudden be like, all right, guess we ain't paying attention to HBCUs no more. Look, I just came from the Bayou Classic, so I'm definitely in the HBCU same frame of mind. I was in New Orleans for the Bayou Classic. Grew up on that game, got to cover it with NBC. NBC's got it back on NBC after it was on NBC Sports for a while. It was on national network television on Saturday. The mainstream media needs to not just conveniently have a fascination with Deion Sanders and ignore the rich tradition and the players and the high level of football taking place at HBCUs. The celebrities don't go away just because Deion is gone. I get it. But all those things that he did for Jackson State, did he do it for the larger mission, or did he do it for Deion? And I thought he was doing it for a larger mission. And is the mission accomplished after 3 years? I thought we were going into ushering into a new era of people saying, I don't have to go to Colorado. I can go to Alcorn State like Steve McNair did. I don't have to go to USC. I can go to South Carolina State. Like Darius Leonard did, or Shaquille Leonard did. I thought that's where we were now. And I thought he was the face of that movement, not somebody who was going to move the first time somebody came calling with a bigger check.
Okay, can we have this conversation? Because we can't. This brother from another. We can talk for real, right? This brother from another.
Well, you only got me today, so if we don't have it now, we ain't having it today.
That's right. I gotta get you, because I may not see you again until 23, and you know I ain't playing. And you probably have in your mind, this is my last show at 22.
No,
so I got to take advantage of Michael Smith. It's not. It's the next to last at 22. But I would say, man, why does it have to be like this? Why does it have to be like this? It's like,
do I sound like I'm hating? Am I hating? Do I sound like I'm hating?
Hey, man, come on.
I'm not, dog. I wore a shirt. I'm not trying to hate. I'm just saying what I thought it was, and maybe that's my fault.
But this is what,
maybe that's my fault.
This is what we're doing. We're doing this stuff like, oh man, it's only about the paycheck. Well, first of all, can we say, even though the cultural experience is priceless, the paycheck does have limits. Where SWAC versus power, that is real. And so I'm not going to dismiss that. I'm not going to count as money for him.
I'm not either. I am not a pocket watcher. A lot of people say I don't have a price. Well, you just ain't heard the right number yet, okay? Like, listen, I have taken the proverbial bag before at a call. I get it. I understand that.
Yeah,
I'm simply saying, no, and if that's what it is, that's fine. But just understand where I'm coming from, because I don't want you to misunderstand me. I'm in no way saying that Deion doesn't have a right to do what's best for him and his family or his career as he sees it. I just thought, again, my bad. You know what they say about assuming. I just thought that he was in it for something bigger, and that he was going to continue to be a part of a renaissance. Like, instead of just having a cup of coffee at Jackson State. He did a damn good job and did a lot of good for the conference.
That's fine.
It's like, that's it? That's all. And again, I don't want to be hypocritical because it's like, I don't, you know what else I don't do? I don't cover HBCU sports full time either. So if I'm coming off as a hypocrite, that's not my intention.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem, though. You're not coming off as a hypocrite. The problem is that there are so many areas that need restoration, renaissance, renovation, innovation. There's so many areas that need it that Deion Sanders is in a position where he did that at Jackson State. But let's face it, big-time college football needs him in a different way. Maybe those kids in Colorado need him in a different way than the kids
his ministry
State
will continue.
Let's face it. Let's face it. Big-time college football has done a bad job of hiring black coaches. We need black
100%.
faces at these big-time schools too.
I'm not saying his work is done.
He's needed there.
At all.
He's needed at Jackson State for one reason. He's needed in Boulder, Colorado for another. And the paycheck, I know, he's made a lot of money in his career.
Maybe who knows?
But
that's not for us to determine. That's not for us to determine at all.
Yeah, it's hard to say. You know, let me just give you a little detail, and just like let's just sneeze at this. A little detail. They win a national championship. He gets a bonus of $750,000. Every win over 6, he gets an additional $150,000. $150,000. 150.
Michael,
You win 7 games. 150 grand.
And listen, more power to you. All I'm saying is, as long it's no different when it comes to black businesses, black media, black anything, black owned, black anything. As long as the Colorados of the world are seen as a promotion, as long as that's seen as a level up, we'll continue to be here. So somebody, and I thought it was Deion, was going to be like, no, this is bigger than,
level of play across the board.
It's not equal. It's not equal. But when is it ever going to be if people keep flocking to what they think is better, to greener pastures? When is it going to be
greener
different?
In a lot of ways. In a lot of ways.
Literally and figuratively. Literally, even the field. Hell, even the fields. I get it. The facilities, I get it. But it's never going to change if somebody don't say, no, I'm good where I'm at. Water the grass where you at.
I felt every single one of those 700 days, honestly. I said however long I've been out, I felt every single one of those days. So getting back in shape and everything was definitely needed to feel that today. It is what it is. You know, I can't control what the fans do and what their, how they approach whenever I step on the field. My job is to go out there and execute and do my best as I can for the team.
That was Deshaun Watson yesterday. Browns go to Houston. First game back for Deshaun Watson in 700 days. He did not look great, Charles Robinson. And after the game, I don't think he sounded that great either, because he wanted no parts of going over the past and making any apologies or expressing any remorse. You were in the building yesterday. What did you see and what did you hear?
Yeah, I mean, look, the talking about the past, it's over for him. He's done. Okay, let's go ahead and just knock that out right now. He is done. We may not be done as media members. The general public may not be done talking about that with Deshaun Watson, but it's clear that Deshaun Watson is finished with it. And I think when he had his first press conference back after being reinstated and becoming the starter, he immediately came out and said, I'm talking about football now. I'm not going to address, the litigation. I'm not going to address the clinical end of what I did to be reinstated. And I said then, and I wrote then, this is it. What you are seeing now is the end of this conversation in terms of Deshaun Watson projecting it outward. And if he does talk again, it will be in a scripted situation with someone that he either trusts or is friendly with. It will not be like the previous several press conferences where it was him, freestyling questions that did not go well. And so I think, off the field, what we saw on Sunday was the transition. It was him saying, now I have football games to talk about. So I'm going to talk about those football games. I'm going to talk about my performance. And Jenny Vrentas, the absolutely fantastic reporter from the New York Times, was there. She asked him about the element of remorse. He was not engaging on it. And I think it's a continuation of what he rolled out earlier in the week, that I'm done with that part of this. Now let's talk about football.
Yeah, I understand the organization ownership asked him to apologize last week, and that was a non-starter for him and his team. And so I think that apology, I think people are looking for something from him that they're never going to get from him.
Contrition.
Well, specific contrition.
Right.
I think he's willing to apologize, and he has apologized. I forget what the setting was, but it was like a little one-on-one interview for, as he put it, putting himself in that position, or anybody that he may have triggered, I think were the words that he used, which that word was triggering in and of itself. But people that are looking for him to express, people are just looking for him to express remorse, because remorse comes from guilt,
right,
or at minimum responsibility. And I don't think he's ever going to say that, because I don't think that's how he views the situation. So I also understand that he's going to continue the counseling, wants to continue the counseling. But it's like, how do you
counseling for what though, Mike? What's he getting counseling?
Well, that's
for?
but that's what I'm saying. Behavior, just working on himself. But that's what I'm saying. It's like Michael Charles. I don't know if you heard it a second ago. We were talking about projecting on a Deion Sanders. It's like a lot of people, understandably so, this isn't a criticism, are projecting their feelings about the situation onto Deshaun and expecting him to speak in accordance with those feelings. All I'm observing is that Deshaun doesn't see it the same way as the many people in the outside world does. So, like, in other words, if you're waiting for him to say the magic words, you're just going to be waiting for a very long time.
Yeah, and I think it's what I wrote when he had his initial press conference was, we have now reached the point where it is really, it's incumbent upon yourself to decide how you feel about this and move forward. You cannot seek resolution through Deshaun Watson anymore. He's not going to give it.
That's a great point.
He's not going to give it, particularly given the wide spectrum of expectations. Some people want a little, some people want a lot. Some people say, hey, he financially apologized through settlements. Some people say, no, it needs to be more. And my point was, let's be honest about what the history of the NFL is and the phrase "get to the games." Okay, get to the games is this train goes in one direction, it moves, you get on, it starts, and you have to decide as it plows forward how you feel about all the carnage that it leaves in its wake, morally, ethically, intellectually, all these different things. It's not, Deshaun is a microcosm of it now, but we have seen this microcosm before in other areas, in other ways. Whether it's race, sexuality, politics, a litany of different things. As fans, you decide whether you want to, basically take part in the product, watch it, or turn your back. We have reached that juncture. Make your decision.
They're the professional players. We are professionals at practicing cognitive dissonance. It's part of being a sports fan.
Yep.
Whether you realize it or not, you're doing it all the time. Let's pivot to a couple more topics we want to hit with you, man. One on a related note, because obviously a big hang-up in the Lamar Jackson negotiations was the lack of a Deshaun Watson like fully guaranteed contract. Right. Now Lamar's got an injury, hasn't has been up and down with his play. What is the level of concern in Baltimore, A, about his injury, but B, maybe not concerned from the Ravens standpoint, but from his standpoint when it comes to his leverage for that long-term guaranteed contract he wants?
I think the Ravens are resolved to franchise tagging him at this stage, no matter what. Like I don't think, regardless of what the knee injury, the knee injury situation, which week to week, if someone says day to day or week to week, it's week to week. Okay, like you don't just stick week to week in there if it's not. Right. Okay, so that's and a week to week knee injury in the NFL is concerning because it A, means it's going to take time to heal. B, means it's not going to be fully healthy, which means that the remainder of the season it's going to exist. And C, may never get to the point this season where you're comfortable putting Lamar Jackson back on the field. So from the injury standpoint and how that plays into leverage, I think it's irrelevant because the Ravens were to the point now where they were at that impasse. They're not giving him a fully guaranteed $230, $240, $250 million contract. They were going to tag him anyway. So again, and in a way it's irrelevant. But it does not mean, he suffered a knee injury. Now we're going to go ahead and clap our hands and walk away. He's going to go to free agency. That's not happening. They are going to tag him.
Not free agency. I think the interesting thing is going to be, do they give him the exclusive tag or the non-exclusive tag and let him be free for another team to potentially negotiate with him? Well, they can control whether he plays for them or no one else next year. It'll be interesting to see which tag they apply.
I do not think they are inclined to let another team name their price. Okay, so if they're not going to sit. I don't believe they're going to be inclined.
Not name the price. Let him sign with them and them take them draft picks. That's what I mean.
Well, we'll see. I think they want Lamar Jackson. They look at his record as a starter. They know what they have there. They don't want to let him go, but. I think it's a significant contract impasse, and they're ready to kick it into 2023 and deal with it.
Do you trust them?
Yeah, go
ahead. Just quick on the Ravens. Do you trust them with or without Lamar? Obviously, without Lamar, it's a different story.
You mean the rest of the season?
Yeah. Just this team. Like they struggled. They struggled against Carolina. Yeah. They pulled out a victory. They pulled out a victory yesterday. Over a really limited Broncos team. Technically, not even technically. Look at the divisional record for the Bengals.
I mean, look, Michael, they know Cincinnati.
The Ravens got control.
You asked if we trust them. I mean, it's hard can't trust them like I trust the Bengals, Michael. I'm sorry. I just had to get that in before. I had to get that in before the show ended, Charles. What fun times.
Hey, Charles.
What fun times when Michael didn't believe in the Bengals. Now his Chiefs can't beat the Bengals. Sorry. Go ahead.
Nobody keeps his own stats like Michael Smith.
He keeps those receipts, doesn't he?
But only when it's convenient, though. Only when
it's
convenient.
Not my stats. It's the Bengals stats.
Okay. Well, no, what you said about them, like, I was on board, all this stuff.
What you said about them.
Is he LeBron in it? Are you LeBron in it? Are you LeBron in it?
Oh yeah. No, mine is accurate. Mine is accurate. Right. I ain't capping. Go ahead, Charles. Do you trust him?
Rewriting history one episode at a time. Anyway, look, I think Tyler Huntley, when he had extended time, previous to this, he looked good. And at times you thought, is this a player, a backup who has an ability to develop into a potential starter? I once looked at him sort of how I looked at Jalen Hurts at the start. I was like, there's something here to like. Is he going to get enough playing time, enough reps, enough snaps to develop as a player? The thing is, when they played against the Broncos, he did not have a good game. However, when he had to have it to win the game, go watch that last drive, okay? And that was him putting it together. I actually think he is a backup who I believe has an opportunity, given snaps, reps, development, could actually be a player in this league. So I like their backup. He's not Lamar, though, but he's not Lamar.
No, he's not. But I like him a lot. Hey, let's go rapid fire real quick. Does Baker have a future in this league this season or at all as a backup quarterback somewhere? Okay, cool. We'll move on.
Wait. No. Just real quick though.
I thought you meant that wasn't worth asking.
No, wait. Jimmy G goes down, right? Next day, Baker asks for his release. I'm not saying somebody made a phone call. Like, hey man, you come loose, we probably come get you. I'm not saying that happened.
That ain't an upgrade.
Saying that happened.
That ain't an upgrade. I don't think San Francisco.
But they need everything. Throw everything at it.
Is Dallas going to? You said last time you were on the show that Dallas wouldn't let OBJ get out the building. Even without working out, is he a Cowboy by this time next week?
This is a whole other conversation. The OBJ thing is developed in a way that I don't even think the teams expected. I think the money has caused pause. I think the fact that he's not working out has caused pause. I think now teams are starting to look at him and go, maybe this is a 2023 guy, not a 2022 guy.
Love that. And last but not least, speaking of keeping receipts, would Christian Watson be scoring more touchdowns? This is for both of you.
Oh, God.
If he were drafted in the first round.
No, hey, go to break.
If he was drafted in the first round, would he be better? I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Oh, my
would he be a better player if they drafted him in the first instead of the second?
You had to get that in.
You wrong. You wrong doing it at the last minute like this.
Oh, my God. You show up as often as the Olympics every 4 years. You come around every 4 years. Then you come in bringing chaos, talking about the first round, second round.
No. He's that guy, you know, when the fight's getting broken up, he sneaks in one little last punch as he gets pulled apart. That's him.
Right.
Dirty.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.